Andy is going to give us a tour, and we're just going to get a feel for what we have here.
Great, thank you, Holly. So good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Bob, nice to meet you, and love to hear the backstory with you and how you got involved with this. Can you share that a little bit with us?
Well, a number of years, I've always wanted to have a high impact in my life since I was a kid, and played in the NFL for 10 years and did some other stuff and real estate and stuff. But my wife recently, 15 years ago,
Time flies.
It takes a little time.
she told me that there were 40 million slaves in the world, and there were 2 million women and children that were annually trafficked in East Asia every year, and cyber sex and all that stuff, and I didn't believe it. I said, that's impossible. And so I started for a couple years just thinking it through, like, what am I gonna do with that many slaves and stuff? And literally, we were walking through Beaver Creek one day at an art show, and I had this idea that what if you had artists paint a portrait and give beauty and dignity to these women that have been trafficked and rescued and intercepted and all this kind of stuff. And I turned, and this woman was painting a picture of somebody in Rwanda, and she said, what's your idea? And her name was Judy Dickinson, and she's a phenomenal portrait artist, and she goes, I'll do the first painting.
I love that.
Serendipitous.
It was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
She goes, I get what you're doing. So I took that painting and I put it out, across the United States, and I had about 200 artists that said, I know what you're doing. You're not selling the painting, but you want to bring awareness and mobilization to and give dignity to these people that have been so traumatized and so horrific. Listen, you just do one little thing, and then somehow
The rest of the pieces fall into place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good for you. Bravo for you. I love that, the rest of that story. This is part 2. I love it.
Definitely.
So, Bob, I love that. That's great. I love your passion about it, as well as yours, Libby. And looking at the display that you have throughout here at this event, so many different it's different, I don't want to say motifs, but different, how would I put it? Styles of the paintings, and obviously through the artists, and some come through in an abstract form, and some come through as a real portrait and see the emotions. So with that being said, I'm going to be the Vanna White and do this. As we are going to go walk around and really look at some of the examples as well. Give us some of your favorites, share some of those favorite stories, as if you would, with some of the paintings. So here we go. We're going to go walk around and go see a few examples.
Great.
Okay, now here is an example of a true portrait. And you can see these smiles over here, but share the story about this picture here.
Yes, so this is a painting of Meena, which is a pseudonym. Meena was from Nepal, from a very poor family, and her husband left her and abandoned her, and she was left with her daughter. So she had to move in with her mother and dad, who were also very poor. And so Meena then was responsible to take care of her family. Well, she couldn't find work in Nepal, and so she went to a travel agency that said, we can provide you a great job overseas. So Meena went with this travel agency, wound up in Lebanon, and it wasn't for a job. She was trafficked. She was sent to Lebanon as a slave. Men were coming in every day, exploiting her. She was a domestic slave, and she was there for 2 years. And one day she said, I'm going to kill myself. And so she hung a scarf up on the ceiling fan to hang herself. But then she remembered her daughter. And she said, I can't end my life. So what she did is she took 6 scarves, tied them together, made a rope, and climbed out of the building, a 6-story building, and escaped. And a man began to help her, and he helped her get back to Nepal, where she then was helped by Love Justice International, who took her in and said, we want to help you. And they counseled her, they gave her all kinds of help, and she actually then joined the staff of Love Justice and became a transit monitor to help intercept people as they were being trafficked, but before they reached their point of exploitation.
Hey Bob, now your turn to share this piece of art here, please.
Okay, this painting is done by an artist that has been prolific in Vail for decades, Don Solly.
Okay.
And this represents the slave trade in Ghana, where they are on Lake Volta, which is the largest man-made lake in the world, and they started putting little boys and stuff to work as fishing slaves, and they dive down, they get caught in the nets and all that kind of stuff and drown. And so we put together a partnership with the NFL Foundation and a couple churches and some individual NFL players, and we funded three stations that intercept these boys en route. And so Don has a number of paintings that are in the exhibit, and these are fish, and this is Lake Volta, and you can see his style. He's a phenomenal artist.
And again, so different because you just shared a story about boys. You know, some people think with the young ones of slavery, just with the sex slave with the girls, there are boys also though. So thank you for sharing the story.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, now people can really see the depths of the different styles of these paintings and the artists. And this one to me was really interesting. So share the story behind this one,
Okay, this
please.
is an artist, Lise Ansley from Atlanta, and she's a contemporary artist, and she wanted to capture, and she called the painting bartering. And so this is like an aerial view of a person that's trafficking another person, and so that's what's going on here.
Got it.
And she really wrestled with this for months, but I love the painting.
I do too. I love the colors. This really
the
did
colors.
capture my
Great
attention.
artist.
One of the front. So great example of the again the different styles and what you're displaying, because you have commissioned right with these paintings, and they're not for sale. I want to make sure that people understand these paintings are not for sale. They're really for awareness and to be put on display and to learn more about everything that the cause of what you're supporting. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
so much.
Okay, another totally different style here. And Bob, share about this painting.
Okay, well, this is Claire. Claire was trafficked, and she thought she had a job and was heading an airport and got to Iran, a stopover, and they opened up her suitcase and it had heroin in it. And she didn't know they had put heroin in there. So they arrested her and they told her the amount of heroin, you will be executed. So she was put in prison, and they used to call off the names of the people that were going to be executed as she waited. And she was a praying woman, and somehow she got out. And she got back, and Love Justice hired her, and she worked for Love Justice. So I was looking for something that was kind of like iconic Catholic look, where you make a saint for her courage and that kind of stuff. So artist Joanna Spinks from Malibu, she put the gold kind of leaf halo that they confer on saints, and we just said she's a saint.
I love that. Well, you've got a creative side to you too. This is like, I'm thinking, yes. So another,
Definitely.
I think I agree. Oh my gosh, that is a great story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Wow, what a tour. I've actually been trailing from behind because I did not want to get in front of these beautiful pieces. So thank you so much. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And so when the bigger exhibit comes, either to Breckenridge or to Vail or wherever it might be in Colorado, please take the opportunity to view this exhibit, which really is important to a very important cause. So Libby and Bob, thank you so much for being here. Andy, as always, thank you so much for being here.
It's so interesting. Oh my gosh, thank you both
you
for
so
just
much.
being able to share and have that awareness. And everyone be sure to share too. This is important, a really important thing for people to be aware of and to share with others.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a privilege. I mean, this is one of the greatest injustices in the world, and for artists to convey beauty, dignity to people that have been so traumatized, it really is a privilege to be involved.
Well, thank you. Thank you.